Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to G Bear's Off-Grid Ways, a homestead in the desert. Today is March 23rd, I think it is, 2021. And we are going to in today's episode, cover backup generators. We got a few things to cover about backup generators. First of all is sizing and usage and safety and storage and connections, and how are you going to power your house or cabin and things like that. So we're going to get going on this right away so that I can definitely cover as much as I can in a shorter period of time. All right, so another thing I wanted to mention was while I'm out here, I got the Super Clean out. Because one of the things you want to do when you're doing maintenance on these things is not only start them up every now and then to make sure that they keep on running, but you also want to change the oil. You want to take the cover off of it and wipe it down, get the dust off of it. Don't let it accumulate and build up over long periods of time. Treat it like your car. Treat it like your second car or your weekend motorcycle. Whatever you want to call it, just think of it as a very essential part of your life, and you don't want it to be completely filthy and dirty and run down and all of that. All right, so I did do some oil changes on here, and you can see that there's some oil there, and I went to wipe it off, and it got some dirt in it, and it's kind of greasy. So I got my Super Clean out, and let's spray some on there and see what happens. All right, so I got it on there. I'm going to set this down over here at the barbecue. I got an old dirty rag right here. And let's see how this worked. Well, I guess yeah, it did a pretty decent job. I'd have to actually get two hands in there to really do a cleanup, but it took the grease off, cut right through it. So I'll be doing the rest of that later when my hands are free. All right, so this is the backup generator I've got. It's a Predator from Harbor Freight Tools, 6,500 max starting watts, 5,500 running watts, okay? First thing you want to know, this number, look at it, smile, forget it. It does nothing for you. They put that on there just to sell you this item, okay? This is what you want to concern yourself with, your running watts. You're not going to just start it up and say, okay, well, I've got 6,500 watts to run. No, because once it's running, you only got 5,500. So forget about that crap. Now, this is a nice little unit because this has DC 12 output. It has a DC breaker. It's got AC breakers built right in. And these are GFCIs so that you can not worried about getting juiced outdoors. They will back you up in case of a short. And it's got a 240 volt connection here, a twist lock connection. Now this is what you would use if you were going to connect it to your house or cabin, because most houses and like my cabin, I have a 240 volt panel in there, and I have a split phase inverter. That's my big inverter right there. It's a 8,000 32,000 surge, which is same thing as running watts, so you forget about the 32,000. So it's 8,000 running watts, and that's 8 kilowatts. But this is a split phase 120 240, or they call it 110 220. Okay, so or 220 volts to 240 volts. Yeah, you got to think that Asia and Europe, they've been on the 220 volt system for many years. The U.S. uses the 110 or the 120. Now the 110 is the old services. Nobody uses 110 anymore That's everybody's got 120 now, because all the upgraded wiring and all that stuff. We just deal with 120, 240. Okay. Now over there they got an outlet that says 110 volts. Okay, so that's where I plug this thing into, and we'll cover extension cords a little later. But this extension cord actually connects to this outdoor outlet, and I'll plug it into that unit right there, and then I'll get 4 plugs out here. So I change from 1 plug to 4 plugs. Now that's the way you want to be. And I'm saying plugs because that makes it a little simple. Those of you who are a little technically advanced, okay, we got a single receptacle there, and we got quad receptacles here. So that's 4 receptacles to accept 120 volt systems. So when I plug that in, now I got 4 outlets instead of just 1. And if you're going to be using this for just an emergency setup on your generator, then you're going to want to make yourself a extension cord like that. And we'll go into that later. Anybody who wants to know how to do that, put it down into the comments below, and I'll be glad to show you how to put together a safe extension cord that you can use like that, so you can run your generator and plug 4 items in instead of just 1. These already have 4 outlets on them, but that would mean you would need to run 4 separate extension cords into your house for an emergency use backup. Keep your refrigerator running, medical equipment running, things like that. Okay, next, let's see. There's a bunch of reasons why people would buy a backup generator. You know, it could be just for emergency use because you got medical patients in the house, or you don't want your stuff to spoil if there's a long-term blackout from a disaster like an earthquake or volcanic eruption or something like that. Well, yeah, those are good reasons. You know, then we have these people like myself that are off-grid. We use backup generators in case we have 4 weeks of no sunshine. But I don't worry too much about that. I've got amorphous panels, and even though today was completely overcast all morning with rains, we got another 1/10 of an inch of rain today, but there was no sun. It was blocked out by all the clouds. But I was still, by early morning, like 8 a.m., 8:15, I still already had 13.2 volts in my battery banks. Those amorphous panels pick up even ambient light, so it was great. All right, let's get back to the generator. I'm going to flip my list over here so I can make sure I don't forget to cover anything. All right, so sizing. What size generator do you need? Okay, well, in order to be really accurate on that, you should go around and record, just take a paper and list all of the things that you think that you'll be running in an emergency on the generator if the power goes out. Okay, so if you got your list going, say you're going to put, well, I want the TV so I can follow the news and see what's going on. So you're going to look on the little tag on the TV and see how many watts it uses. And then you can put that number right beside it. Now, if it doesn't tell you how many watts it uses, just look at the voltage and the amps. It'll tell you the voltage, which is going to be standard 120 volts for the US. And then it'll say on the amps, it'll say 2 amps. Okay? Well, remember Ohm's law? I covered that in a previous video. Watts equals volts times amps. So if you got 120 volts times 2 amps, it's 240 watts is your requirement. Okay? Very simple math. I mean, anybody can multiply a couple of numbers or divide a couple of numbers. It's very easy. Okay, so you're going to do that for every item that you want to run. Now, keep in mind, the things that use the most electricity are heating elements and cooling elements. So if you've got an air conditioner or an electric heater or a toaster or a microwave, things of that nature use a lot of watts. Okay, so those things, if you can avoid using those off your generator, you're better off. But you can still use them if you need to. But try to keep it down to, don't try running the whole house air conditioning on it. If you got a window air conditioner or a little portable air conditioner, run that instead. Okay, so that'll keep your sizing down. Now see, I went with the 5,500 or 5.5 kilowatts. And the reason I did that was because that's about 2,000 or 2 kilowatts higher than what I actually use on my solar. So I've got extra here if I need it. Okay, now, how do you make your connections to the house? Well, we'll get into that in a minute. We just want to remember that the sizing is important. So you got to get all the things that you're going to run, put that together. Now, some other things, features that you want to look at when you're looking at a generator: run time. Okay, 14 and a half hours of run time on the 1 tank of gas. That's a good thing. This has a gas gauge on it, so it tells you how much fuel is in it. That's a good thing. That's a nice little feature to have. Having all of the extra different voltages, the 12 volt, the 240 volt, the 120 volt GFCIs, that kind of stuff is also a nice little added feature, because if your neighbors are down and out and they want to charge their cell phones or laptops or something like that so they can keep on going, hey, you can loan them a plug, right? Especially if you make one of those extension cords that gives you 4 outlets on it. You can plug that into one of the outlets here and set it out, and then let 4 people plug in, and they don't have to wait for one person to unplug before they unplug, okay? Just in case you decide you want to go that way. All right, so ease of starting. That's a very important thing. Now, this is a manual start. It's got a pull cord. Okay, now this particular model, I checked it out, and I really like this model because it's a very easy start model. Now this is cold, it's been sitting for a while. I have a cover I keep on it. That's another thing you want to make sure that you get for it, is some type of a cover to keep it out of the weather. Or you can get a wheel kit for it. This one has a wheel kit you can buy, and with the wheel kit you can roll it in and out of your garage or your tool shed or whatever. Do not run it inside of garages and tool sheds. Don't get lazy and leave it inside. I don't care how much room you have around it in the garage or the tool shed. You do not want to run your generator inside of any enclosure that's connected to your house. Okay, now even your tool sheds. Like if I put it in that tool shed right there and I ran it, that would be dangerous. Why would it be dangerous? Well, because fumes are going to build up inside of that shed. Even when this thing's not running, gasoline fumes will fill up that shed. And then you go in here and you pull the cord and you get a spark and boom, you and the shed blow up. Well, you don't want that. It'll kind of ruin your day. You know, it'll just really make you spit your coffee out. Got you on that one, right? All right, so anyway, the other safety thing you want to remember is extension cord sizes. Now, don't go buying cheap little lamp cord extension cords to run your refrigerators and stuff on inside the house on. Your house outlets, the receptacles in your house, are wired in 12 gauge copper wire. So you want to use a 12 gauge copper wire extension cord if you're going to run anything from your house off of a generator. All right? Now, you're even in your garage and outside in your workshops and things like that, by the electric codes, when they built the house, they used 12 gauge wire for that. Now, given some houses, some of the older houses, they use 14 gauge wire for lighting. Okay, that's because lighting does not have really major draws on it. Usually it's a couple of light bulbs per room, and that's it. But in all commercial runs, they use 12 gauge for the lighting, because normally in commercial and industrial runs, they'll have fluorescent lights running the whole length of a giant building on one lighting circuit. Well, it's going to take a little bit more of a draw, so they go to 20 amp and they use 12 gauge. All right, so just remember that. Don't chimp out or skimp out on your extension cords. Buy a good 12 gauge extension cord to run out of your generator. Now, how do we get it into the house? How do we get the power from here into the house? Well, there's a couple of ways, or a few different ways that you can do that. You can plug an extension cord in and bring it inside the house, and then you'll have a single outlet inside that you can plug your refrigerator in and keep your food from spoiling on a long-term problem. Now, you could also put a little power strip at the end of that extension cord and have 6 outlets on there, and you can plug in your refrigerator, your laptop, your cell phone, your TV, all into that one strip. That's if they're all close enough together so you don't have to use more extension cords. Just remember, the more extension cords you have, the more chances you're going to have of tripping over something, causing a fire, overloading a circuit. You don't want to do stuff like that. So just let's try to get it as simplified as possible. So you would bring in a single 12 gauge extension cord with a 4-plex box on it, something like that. And then you could run 4 12 gauge extension cords to 4 different things inside. Now, if you're going to use a power strip, save that for your electronics, your TV, your computer, your laptops, things like that. Okay, don't try to keep everything on separate circuits or separate outlets. Don't try to bunch them all together. And then on your refrigerator, put that on a single cord all by itself, because refrigerators don't constantly use a lot of electricity, but when they start running, that compressor kicks in. It has a pretty good surge of like 130, 170 watts, somewhere in that name, if you have a newer energy efficient refrigerator. If you have an older one, it could be 300 watts on a surge all of a sudden. So keep your refrigerator separate. If you have to use the microwave, unplug the refrigerator and plug the microwave into that extension cord, run the microwave, and then switch it back to the air conditioner. Don't try to run them both on the same extension cord. You don't want to overload circuits if you don't have to, okay? All right, so you can get wheel kits for these. They come with handles that attach, and you can wheel it around like a wheelbarrow and put it where you need it when it comes time to connect it, okay? So just remember that that's available. Now, the other thing you don't want to do is, for safety reasons, is running these anywhere in an enclosed area, even with a door or a window open. The carbon monoxide is going to build up, and that's a secret or a silent killer. You'll fall asleep, and when you wake up, you're dead. Okay? And nobody really wants to wake up dead because it ruins your day. So don't do it. Don't run it inside of any enclosures. If you have it inside of a box container so it's protected from the weather, make the whole roof available to lift up completely, at least 3 feet higher than the generator. So it's up here like this, away from the generator, and give it about 15 minutes for the air to flush out the inside of that area. Then you can start it up, and you can lower that roof down to, a foot or 2 above this unit, just in case it's raining and you want to protect the unit from the rain. But it still leaves plenty of air. So that's a nice way to do it. It takes a little bit more work, but good way to do it. The other thing is, don't try refueling while it's running. Don't try refueling while it's hot. Okay? You're going to have a little bit of downtime. Hey, live with it. It's better than dying with it. So shut it down. Give it a good 15 to 20 minutes to cool down before you try refueling. And good rule of thumb is go to the muffler area, tap your fingers on the muffler. If the muffler is still hot enough that you can't touch it, don't refuel. That's what causes these explosions people have with generators. It's not a good idea to refuel a hot generator when the gas tank is sitting right above the hot heat source. Just doesn't make sense. Okay. All right. So let's see next. Okay, so if you're going to run an extension cord from this unit inside the house so that you can power up your stuff inside the house, how do you get it in there? Well, there's a number of ways of doing that too. If you're just going to use the extension cord to come off of the 120 volts right there, and you want to get it inside the cabin, well, you can go in through a window. Try to stay clear of going through doors. A couple of reasons. Bringing it through a door means you can't close the door. And if you can't close the door, you've got no security that you can think of. And people are going to be going in and out of the door. There's a wire there. If they're carrying something, they may forget the wire's there. They're going to trip, fall, hurt themselves, or pull the cord out while something's running. You don't want to do stuff like that. Just stay clear of running them indoors. Bring them in through a window. Now, if you have a sliding window like this, yes, your window's going to have to stay open a little bit. So what do? Well, you put it in through the bottom corner right here. A 12 gauge extension cord isn't going to take more than a half an inch of space. So this will stay open a half an inch. Take a bath towel, roll up the bath towel, and put it above the extension cord against this side of the jamb and close the window up against the towel. Okay, so that's going to seal it off so you don't have cold air rushing into the house or heat running out of the house. It'll give you a temporary support. Now you see that little board laying in there. If you take a board like that and you cut it so it's just the right size after you're closed on the extension cord and the towel, and measure from there to there and put a little dowel or a piece of wood or whatever in between there, then the wind blowing on the cord or somebody coming over can't open the window any further. It'll stay closed, okay? It's a little tip, a little safety hint. All right? So the other thing you can do is you can buy what they call a transfer switch. And this is the best way of doing it, but for transfer switches, you're going to need some electrical knowledge or an electrician to hook them up for you. Now, there's two different types of transfer switches, or actually three different types of transfer switches. There's a manual transfer switch, which is about 150 bucks. You can buy them at Home Depot, or you can Google them and find them online. Okay, what that does is it takes your main power coming in, connects to two lugs coming in for 240 volts. And then your generator, your 240 volt cord that comes off of this, will hook up to the other two at the bottom. And then the ones in the center are connected to your service panel, your breaker box. Okay, so your power coming in is on the top, your generator is on the bottom, and the center part goes to your, where did I say it went to? Your panel box. All right, so what happens? You got a fork switch like this, and you throw the switch and it goes up. Well, now you're connected to the grid power or your main power coming into the place, and that will give you power to your breaker box through your main electricity service. So if there's an outage, you flip that switch all the way down. Now you're connected, the two bottom, which are your generator, go up and connect to your electrical panel, but it disconnects your main power coming in, so you're not backfeeding. Then you could you'll be running your generator, because you start your generator first before you throw the switch. And that's another safety item, is don't don't plug your stuff into the generator and then start it. Start the generator first and then plug into the generator after it's running. And then when you're ready to shut everything down, unplug everything from the generator and then shut the generator down. Those are safety features you want to remember. Write that down, put a big star around it, write it in red so it sticks out and you really see it. Capital letters, whatever. You just want to make sure you do that. All right, so we covered the manual transfer switch. That's ideal for people that very seldom ever have a power outage and not worrying about a power outage, but it just might happen. You're going to store this thing in a corner in the garage and just take it out if you need it. Hey, fine. You go over, you plug the cord into that's hanging from your transfer switch, you plug it into your generator after you start the generator, and you throw the switch and you disconnect from the grid, go down to the generator, and you're powering your house off the generator. Okay? Manual switches are not the most safe switches in the world. They're great for off-grid. You off-gridders, you already know how to connect your electricity because you already did it. So it'll be a very simple thing for you to figure out. You people that are on-grid, you might want to go a different route. Different routes they have automatic transfer switches. Everything is connected. You can actually get generators that have electric start and will automatically crank over. When the grid goes down, there's a 3-second delay. The thing switches on, cranks your generator over and fires it up. A 3-second delay comes for while you get up to speed on your generator, and then the power starts going back to your house and your lights come back on, even though everybody else is out of power. When the grid power comes back on, it'll do the reverse. It'll shut off your generator and disconnect you from the generator and go back to being connected to the grid. So, thing with that is those run from anywhere from $350 to $1,400 or more, and you will require a licensed electrician to make the connections on that for you. So you're going to have to figure electrician cost in there. Okay, and then other than that, there's another item called a GenerLink, GenerLink. GenerLink MA23 is about $700 to $800. Requires an electrician to connect it, and that actually is a unit that goes in between your electric meter and your circuit panel. So if there's a power outage, the grid goes down, it's automatic. You can just connect into that. Now, if you connect your cord that's hanging off of that unit into your generator after it's running, it will automatically shut the grid off, even if the grid is still powered up, and the generator will take over as the main source of power. So if you wanted to save electricity for a few days and run the old gas out of your generator and refresh the gas, which you want to do every now and then, don't leave these things sitting for long periods of time, especially with today's gas. It has alcohol in it. You definitely want to, if you're going to have gas sitting in your system for any period of time, you're going to get a thing called Stable, STA-BUL, and you can add that to your gasoline. Now, they have it for storage, long-term storage, or stuff like that. So there's different formulas. Make sure you get the one that you need. Okay? So we're running a little long here. I'm going to try to get to the end of this and close up on here. Let's see. The starting. Okay, I was saying this is a pretty easy start. So in this one, like I said, it's cold. It's been sitting out here, but it's time to start it and give it a chance to run some fuel through it. So you turn the fuel on. It tells you right there, fuel on. And here, flip this over to start. And then over here, you got a switch that says on, so we're going to press that to on. And then we grab a hold of the rope, and there's no need to try to be a He-Man and spin this thing at 3,000 RPM to try to start it. You just give it a little pull. Now, isn't that nice? That's a nice generator. I'm sure you can still hear me, but the noise is probably a little bit loud. So I'm going to shut this down. And I can run it again later. Shut off the fuel. I already moved it from start to run as soon as it started. So that's it. So if I want power, it's an instantaneous thing, and it doesn't take a heck of a lot of strength to start this thing. It's pretty easy. That's a 302cc engine, but it cranks over real easy. I love it. Anyway, I've run my welder, I've run the cabin on this, just using an extension cord. And I will be setting up the manual relay switch here, or the manual transfer switch. It's a 100 amp non-fused manual transfer switch, and you can buy them at Home Depot. Actually, you can't get them at Home Depot. You have to order them, and it'll be shipped either to your house or your address or to your nearest Home Depot where you can pick it up. But yeah, I'll be putting one of those in here, and then this will have a permanent wire running from this to the manual switch, where all I have to do is start this thing up, shut off my inverter, throw the switch, and I change from battery bank or solar or whatever's incoming, and I switch over to generator. And I like this generator. It's loud when you're standing right next to it, but when I run this over here and I'm sleeping on the other side of the cabin, I can't hear this thing running. So great little system. I'm going to cover that up in a little while here. I'm going to get everything shut down. I think I've covered everything that I can think of. Remember to get it sized for more than what you actually need. So if you figure out all of the items, how much watts you're going to be using for all the items you want to run in a power outage, and it comes out to say 1,000 watts, well, get yourself a 3,000 watt. Go 3 times what you need, because they never ever produce exactly what they claim they do. So just triple it. Don't double it, triple it, and you'll be safe. And then if you have a few other items that you need to plug in for an emergency or anything like that, or you have some neighbors come over and say, hey, can I charge my laptop and phones? You'll have the power to say yes. All right? So that's all I can say. If there's anything else you need to know, questions down below in the comment section. Comments are welcome, and sometimes people will leave a comment that isn't meant to me, but they'll comment to the other followers out there and the other viewers. That's fine with me. So this is G-Bear reminding you, thumbs up down there, please. Don't forget to subscribe and share this with your friends.